What's up, everybody? It is the first time I've done this Facebook Live, actually bringing on a guest. If you see the title, I got a good friend with me, another tattoo artist here in Fresno, and obviously a lot of us are home, even though it's a work day and a weeknight and super late. Most people usually would be getting up and or going to sleep and getting up early, but I'm going to guess a bunch of you freaks are still up pretty late and watching this. So now that you're here, I'm going to invite a good friend of mine on. Right now, you guys are going to talk with me and Rico Saldivar from Red Wave Tattoo, a tattoo shop here in Fresno. And let me bring him on now and say what's up. Rico, what's up,
happening,
man?
Josh? Glad to be here, bro.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
chilling, man. Like you said, my sleep schedule's pretty screwed up right now, so I'm actually wide awake and ready to rock and roll with you, bro.
Cool. This is probably the latest I've ever drank coffee in a long time. Well, I mean, the last few weeks I may have been doing that, but drinking caffeine after like 5-6 o'clock is kind of a way to kill your sleep. But I'm going to assume you're like me and a little bit more encouraged to be a night owl now.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, my schedule is so screwed up. Look at this. I got a Pepsi in hand right now, so a little caffeine for me as well.
Right. Well, yeah. So what I'm really interested in doing here, for all the people that are watching and people that are online right now, it looks like 31 people. I'll say hi to a few people, see who's on here. Luke's on here, my old friend from teenage years, Dirty Luke. If anybody sees him, that's Dirty Luke, not Luke McDonald. Danielle, Lucy, what's up, everybody? Candy, a few people are watching. You guys feel free to comment too if you want to, if you have any questions along this line or along this Facebook Live, and then we're going to be getting into probably some pretty interesting conversations regarding some of the shutdown stuff and just some of our our own experiences as artists not being able to work. So up late and trying to entertain you guys. So Rico, let me ask you right away, what has been up with you, man? Obviously you're not working. We're tattoo artists. You have your own shop. You've been doing this for a long time. Why don't you give me a little bit of a rundown with kind of what's changed for you in the last few months?
Just being separated from the shop, my crew, and just I'm so used to being immersed in the whole lifestyle of tattooing. That's pretty much the bulk of my day and my life, and so this has been a pretty drastic change, dude. This is a trip, like I said, I'm used to being around my boys, my friends, my clients, and everybody, and it's nice. And I do love being home with my wife and our little fur babies and whatnot, but it's a trip, man. It's really it was a hard adjustment. I'm kind of coasting a little bit now, but that being said, I'd love to be back in the shop, tattooing with my buddies.
Right. Yeah, I feel you. So give me a little bit of history on because a lot of it I don't even know. I remember when I was probably 20, 21 and I came to Fresno, some of the first trips I took here as an adult, and I think your shop was well and already open by then. So I'm thinking like early 2000s. What's your history there?
Yeah, so believe it or not, we started back at December 2005. So technically 2006 is when the doors opened, but I signed the lease in 2005 back in the Tower District, just a few doors down from where Resistance currently resides. And we were there for about probably 8, maybe 9 months when the spot that we're at now came up.
Okay.
And we've been there ever since, which has been about 14, almost 15 years now.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time. So you've been in this business, and it's not the only thing you're doing, right? You have your tattoo shop, but you've started a few new things.
Yeah, I expanded into the barber shop. We've had the salon. My wife has had the salon now for about 9 years. And as as tattooers and artists, we like to have our own brand of, our own clothing for our merch and whatnot. And I ventured into having a print shop as well just recently. It's called Bigfoot Print because I'm a big Bigfoot believer.
Right. There you go. So that's pretty recent then, you said. That's how has that part of your business been going, the screen shop part of it?
Well, everything along with the barber shop, we're doing great. We're starting to build some accounts with the print studio. And unfortunately, it came to a halt, when this happened, when this the shutdown happened, we were also deemed non-essential as a print shop unless we're willing to print any type of garments and whatnot to basically donate to first responders, which I would have no problem doing so, and I'd love to help. But, it takes money to do that and to help out, people. I'm still trying to do what I can, but the accounts that we had, they were pretty much in the queue. they had to put things on pause for now. And, again, we couldn't do it if we wanted to anyway because they had us close the shop.
Right. And that's been, of course, no doubtedly rough. I'm sure everybody watching is at least somewhat familiar with the fact that salons, anything barbering, anything tattooing, anything related to that degree is shut down, obviously, completely shut down, especially in this area. How long has it been? I mean, you guys probably, I think it was, at least 4 or 5 weeks minimum. Everybody's been shut down so far as I know. But the first day it happened, it was kind of like, yep, everybody just closed down. Sure, we're going to see what happens. And it seems like now the date and everything keeps getting pushed back. And it's like, that has to be, just like most of us, and you and me having to deal with that, has to be something that's like just not just irritating to you, but upsetting in a way that's something you've never really had to deal with, right? Usually people aren't telling you to not work. It's the opposite.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's scary. You know, I mean, I know many of you guys know where the shop is, and we have that little corner pretty much. So it's not cheap to be there. So
Right.
it's pretty scary right now, man. To be ordered to have the businesses closed down, and the bills aren't stopping. So it's a scary situation right now.
Right.
And that's the main thing that adds the most stress right now is just the fact that nothing else has stopped except for the fact that we can't work.
Right.
The income has stopped.
So what have you been up to lately then? I mean, obviously with this time off and everything changing, what have you been doing? Like what's one, actually we'll go over for everybody watching, 47 of you now. What's up, Vicky? What's up? Oh, it says that Rico's watching. Awesome. So everybody that's watching will kind of get a little bit of an insight on, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the kind of the good that's come from this, the bad that's come from this, the worst part of this too, like potential, anything from potentially shutting down and losing everything to, even worse, I guess, especially with the health being at risk with people. But let's start there with like the good. Like I'm going to assume this is the longest you've ever been off since you've started your own business.
I'll tell you, Josh. For before I started the tattoo shop, I was an HVAC contractor, and so for the last, I'd say, 28 years of my life, I've been working 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. So this is definitely a shock for me, and it's a bit humbling, and it's pretty nice. Like I said, there is some peace, which is that I had with it, which is being able to spend time with my wife, do a little bit more things with pets. There are babies too. I have grandkids now,
Right.
so even being able to spend time with my grandbabies, and that's been fulfilling, enjoyable. Um, Other than that, just trying to get some spring cleaning done here at the house. Some honeydews that my wife wanted to have done, and
Right.
then I got to take care of my wife as well. You're my buddy. You kind of have a little insight as to what's been going on, with my wife and her health, and that hasn't been easy, but things are kind of turning on a little bit better for us. And so, there's some stuff that spending time with her has probably been, one of the funnest things that we've got to do in a long time. And it helped us realize as well that, man, we work so much. And for this to happen where everything that we worked so hard for all these years and all the sacrifice can just, go just like that, snap of the fingers, man.
Right.
And that's it. And so it put, it's giving us a whole new thought and lease on life and our marriage, our family, the whole thing, man. It's just giving us time to really come together and see what's important. And of course, we had dreams and goals, and we wanted the finer things in life, and now none of that shit matters, dude. I'm just glad that my wife, I still have her. I'm blessed to have her. My parents and my family are, everybody's getting through this so far. We have suffered some terrible losses, just like many people have, but ultimately we're getting through, man. Just trying to make the best of this situation.
Right. Yeah. I definitely have to admit, for me, this is the most time I've had off probably, well, really my whole life, ever since I've started working as a young man. Like, this is strange to have this much space, but for me, in some ways, if we're talking about the good part of it, is I'm a natural born hermit. So for me, it's like, don't give me a good excuse to disappear. But then then the hard stuff starts setting in, that you start realizing that not just bills and everything. At first it sounds like, oh, I got this, and I can handle this, no problem, I'll weather the storm, which, as business owners, for sure, you got to set yourself up to do. But this is a little different when you're weathering a storm that was not just unpredictable by definition of what a storm would be, but at the same time for it to be something that's more or less forced upon you, which obviously we're experiencing. So you've been in your business for so long that you kind of know what to prepare for the seasons, for Christmas, for winter, for summer, and all that, and the ups and downs there. But something like this how could somebody really actually prepare for it, whether you're a salon owner or a barber shop or a tattoo shop or any business really? I don't think it's really something people expect that ever to happen at all. So what do you ever get, like, feedback from other people that you should have done this or you should have done that, or maybe looking at it in a way that, like, you should have prepared for it a little better?
I think maybe it's in my own mind is what nobody's really said anything to me like that, I think in my mind, just kind of like getting the gist of some people's like reaction to me when we do talk about the subject, I feel like they're probably thinking this dude's been in business so long, he should have his shit together and probably have planned, or probably has $1 million in the bank or something like that, and I wish I did.
Right. Yeah.
That's not the case, man. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have of business owners in general. And unless you're born into millions and or you're handed down something that's already rocking and rolling, people like yourself and me, we're building from the ground up. And it takes a lot of sacrifice and time. And most of the time, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, getting through. And once we finally start to get ahead or a little bit ahead, we then have to reinvest back into our baby, our business,
Yeah.
So it's a constant thing. It takes years to get to the point where, that financial income becomes financial freedom for you. And that's why I made those investments into the barber shop and the print shop, because that was going to be my financial freedom. I was investing in those two projects so that I could then scale back on my work schedule with my wife without us losing income. Those were going to kind of balance it out and help us maintain the lifestyle that we've busted our asses, to build.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think on some level, I'm sure, there's some judgment. I don't really think that it's all that bad. I think it's more of a curiosity because people know me to help a lot of people, and I love helping people as much as I can. So I'm pretty sure they assume that I'm able to do that because they probably think I'm wealthy, I would imagine, and I'm not. I'm still trying to get by. I'm trying to get there. I'd love to get there. It is a dream and aspiration of mine, is to, like I said, just have financial freedom and have my family, which is the biggest wealth of all, my health and family. So
Right.
I just feel like I've invested so much, man, sacrifice, just like you have already, and you'll continue to do.
Right.
And times like this, man, that just give us a kick in the dick. It's like, wow, that really just happened. Everything that I've just busted butt for
Right.
is at a stop.
Well,
So
and you're in a unique
yeah.
situation because of the fact that you just embarked on new endeavors with your business, trying to branch out and trying to grow. Starting that, and doing some of the health issues within your family, and just personal stuff all at one time. I'll be honest with you, as a tattoo artist owning a studio here in Clovis, California, it's one of the first things I thought about, truthfully, was your business, because I kind of know the situation you're in, generally speaking, but also know a little bit about, your expansion of your business. And the first thing I thought was, man, that's like the worst time for a storm like this or something like this, to hit, for sure. So no doubt. Could you share with us, like, some of those things that you've been not just dealing with, which is kind of the topic of this, but what you've been trying to do about it? Like, what's something that you see? Because I know you've already participated a little bit in a few of the what do you call it? I almost called it a riot. A few of the protests, and speaking your mind, and letting people know where you're coming from, and why don't you let people know here even what it is you're looking to accomplish with that?
Well, I feel like, and I'm not taking a dig on tattooers, because all of our buddies, that's our community. I feel like, tattooers are prideful men. We have big egos. There's a lot of pride, and to get out and in the forefront, like speak, in front of crowds and to protest, against what's been going on. It's not in everybody's interest. It is hard to do, man. I'll tell you, it's not an easy thing to do, but we got to do something, man. And my main issue and what I'm trying to advocate while I'm out there is it is based on what I'm experiencing. I'm going to be, transparent with you, and that's the fact that my business is ordered to close down while all of my bills for that business, for the buildings that I lease, continue to pile up on me. It's not cheap, and it's gonna. Let me put it this way: if this goes on another 2 months, that'll put me in about $35,000 just in debt with unfair rent that's building against me while I'm being ordered to stay home and not run my business.
And not including,
So that
yeah, that's not
yeah,
including your
that's
loss
not
of income.
including no loss of income. I mean, just you seen everything I invested into that place when you got there. I pretty much, like I told you earlier, that was the savings. That was the roll of the dice for me and my family, with the barber shop, the whole studio, and the print studio. And so it's been a hard one to swallow, man. I mean, I don't want my landlords to lose out either. I'm definitely not upset or not wanting them to get what's fair for them. I just feel that if we're in a global crisis. This isn't a Fresno thing, not just a California thing. This is global.
Right.
This is everywhere beyond the United States. And so if this is happening globally and other countries, because I'm sure you've got clients and friends, in other countries, and my client friends have told me, that their country shut everything down. They just basically like a switch. They said everything's coming to a stop for 3 to 6 months. Once we're clear and free, the switch goes right back on. You pick up where you left off.
Right.
We're supposed to be one of the biggest, richest countries. Why can't they do that for us? I feel like we're going to end up in such a far worse situation economically when this is done,
Right.
because they keep trying to make up different programs, and they want us to apply for loans to pay for debt that I don't think is fair that we're accruing in the first place.
Correct. Yeah.
I feel like I, I just felt like I try to think if I was a landlord, what would I want? If I wanted to take care of my tenants as a landlord, I would like to be in a position where I could have a tax write-off or credit at the end of the year for this crisis, and I could then not worry about collecting rent from my tenants, and that way they could live a little bit easier through this situation because it's stressful enough as it is.
Right. Yeah. So that's one thing that I have been experimenting with a little bit, I guess you could say, on social media online, is kind of getting people's input, just kind of probing a little bit here and there just to see where people stand in terms of like going back to work, whether it's going back to work or, the idea of just being shut down in general for the overall, health of the public, which in my personal opinion, that I think is there's definitely something else going on there. But where do you stand? Since I haven't asked you this yet, but where do you stand in terms of like whether or not we should be working? What could be different instead of asking for rent to be or forgiven? What other actions could we take, or where do you stand on going back to work right now?
I think that us, along with salons and barbershops, we go through enough education, certifications, and whatnot to where we're already taking safe measures and practices with our businesses. And I'm not opposed to us having to take another step to have maybe a hands-free sanitizing station when you walk in. Maybe checking temperatures and whatnot. Whatever the list is of the symptoms that we got to be aware of. I think they could implement certain safety measures that we could follow, and I wouldn't be opposed to that, not at all. Even if it was no walk-ins, appointments only, and if your client for your appointment can't take a family or friend, family member or friend with them to the appointment, it's just got to be a one-on-one situation. If they want us both to wear masks, we could do that. If we both need to wear gloves, we can do that. Whatever safety measures they feel would meet certain requirements or criteria for us to be able to conduct our businesses, I think we would all be willing to do that. and it's definitely not out of our reach. To it's attainable. We could do that. It's
Right.
something that we could do, and I feel like that would be the right way to ensure the safety of ourselves, our clients, and our finances to be able to get us back to work and making some money, paying our bills.
Right.
Because like I said, if they don't let us go back to work soon, dude, I mean, this is gonna get far worse than what it is. Probably even more than what we might even be able to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially publicly, depending on what it is, kind of actions. And everybody's situations are obviously completely unique. But I guess some cross platforms in some similar ways in the sense that, if it gets too bad, and you're already seeing that people are getting to the point, and everybody's probably well aware that people are fed up with it and they're kind of over it. They're not. A lot of people are not convinced that what the problem that they said is, the reason why this is shutting down, is even actually the problem that they let it on to be. So that's that kind of stuff. It's a breeding ground for well, I don't want to get into that too much, but that's something in the future that we'll have to see unfold. But even at this point, almost months later, after all of this and having to carry finances and deal with the shutdown and whatnot, I have put it out there a little bit, asking people what they thought about going back to work and what it would take, or whether or not we should. I'm not typically one to ask for permission, but I do like to get insight, because to me that's like a real education, is actually asking people how they feel instead of just hearing it online. And I feel like a lot of people are pretty angry at those who want to, keep their businesses alive. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, like you said, everybody's situation is unique. At the end of this, if you really just look at it, we're all going through, a tough time right now. And for people to be upset with those that are wanting to go back to work and they think that we're being selfish, or not caring of others and whatnot, that's just wrong. That's not wrong. I mean that's wrong to think that of people that are trying to feed their families and save what they've built.
Right.
We're not just wanting to open up and go back to work, and be reckless about it. We're open to hearing the powers that be put something in place for us to practice some safe guidelines.
Right.
We just want the uncertainty is what is driving us nuts, of not having an actual date set that we, and or something in place that's structured to allow us, to take those steps. Because Newsom's saying phase 1, 2, 3, and this and that, and he put us in phase 3, but then they're saying, well, phase 3 could happen several months down the road. So there's still that uncertainty. And, having my situation, my landlord already made it pretty apparent that rent's due
Right.
and rent's going to pile up. And that's just what it is. Business is business. And I can respect that. I get it. You know, I try to tune into other people's feelings on the matter, because the way I'm looking at it, Josh, is like this: we would all be willing to comply with the shelter in place if there was peace of mind that everything else was at a stop as well.
Right.
If the bills weren't piling and you didn't have that stress that you're going to lose your home, your business, your car, or what have you, we'd all be enjoying this little staycation, is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
Like,
No problem.
it'd be a lot more. It'd be easier to comply with it. You wouldn't have these issues. I mean, yeah, people would still get a little stir crazy who are used to working and whatnot, but we'd adjust for the greater good, which is the safety and health of everybody else.
Well, and I think
You know,
I think some people are in that position right now. They're either getting a check in the mail or direct deposited, or they still have their they're still working, or they have the ability to earn and have an income, and they don't have more than one building to pay for, or one business, or some people even no multi, they don't have any other mouths to feed besides their own, if even that. So a lot of people have opinions. Of course, we've all heard about what that means. Like, everybody's got an opinion. They're kind of like a certain part of your anatomy that we've all got one. We just don't want to hear from them. But I'll be honest with you. And it's something I'd love to hear your thoughts on. Is I get people saying all the time, like, you just want to go back to work. You're not worried about other people. You're not concerned about other people's health and the well-being of everybody. And there's a lot of scrutiny, or there's a lot of attacking people who have different opinions on what should be happening, whether it's politically, in terms of right and left or whatever, but also just in terms of opening up and people thinking that you're putting other people at risk. And so what I was really wanted to ask you there, and I guess seems controversial, is that people have even told me if I go back to work, it's putting people at risk. And I thought of it this way, because I've also been told maybe if I want to work and have a paycheck, that I should get an essential job and apply for essential jobs instead of complaining. And I thought, well, if the answer is to get an essential job, then, and there's more people in the workplace, how is that going to get in? I see these people in checkout lines wearing their rubber gloves and masks and doing everything sanitarily incorrect. And,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that in terms of like us going back to work? And I mean, I'll just be straight out with it that us going back to work is probably the lowest risk, and especially salon owners. A lot of people I know that, dude, their training is so extensive in terms of, bloodborne pathogens. And I know you guys have, I think you guys have even, went out of your way to be some of the first studios to be, or to follow some of these guidelines in this area. And I remember some news about that in the past, that you guys take these initiatives to go out of your way to make sure that things are clean and sterile and safe. So again, your thoughts on going back to work, because that is us going back to work is the answer of taking care of all the problems we're in, and not, creating more debt for the country as well as, ourselves. But going back to work, we're probably the safest environments, us that are practicing it professionally, the safest environment you can be in instead of, Walgreens checkout line.
Right. First off, what I like to say is, like, even having said, everybody does have a different situation. Some people might have kids, others don't, that type of stuff. We all have different responsibilities. We're also going through a terrible time. We're all going to endure a certain amount of stress over it. Like we had touched on earlier, in terms of like going back to work as tattoo artists, me and my guys are already trying to talk about, what we can do to ensure the safety of, of ourselves and our clientele, and just taking those extra measures. That's why I said, like a no touch type of hand sanitizer.
Right.
Wave your hand up, it spits it out, sanitize, provide gloves, check temperatures. I feel like, what you said, these people out behind the cash registers, they're trying their best. They don't know, they weren't trained, but they got the same pair of gloves on, and they just keep on touching, passing money around and this and that. Maybe their hands underneath those gloves are protected, but those gloves are touching money and passing money from one person to the other. Right. Throughout the whole day, and they're blessed to have these jobs going on. And I got the same comments from people that you probably did, as far as like, why don't you just get an essential job? And I used to be an HVAC contractor. I called up buddies of mine that are still in the field to see if anybody's hiring, or if I could do some side work, and tag along with anybody. Even those jobs, they hardly have any work right now.
Right.
They're getting ready to lay people off. So even a lot of the essential jobs out there are doing whatever they can just to produce even part-time hours for some of their people, right. Just trying to keep them employed, money, money in their pockets, food on the table. So people could X that out. If they had everybody that's non-essential, out there trying to get jobs right now, there won't be enough hours and stuff going on with the workforce, or just with the work world, to produce, enough for these people to stay employed. Everybody's going to end up where they're at now, which is filing for unemployment and jobless, you know. So it's just inevitable right now. That's just what it is, and it's unfortunate. But to say that we're selfish or that we're going to be putting people at risk, there's no way in hell I would reopen my shop without taking every necessary precaution and any type of guidelines that were handed to me. I'd take those on and probably add a couple extra just to be safe. Because you're right, going all the way back to as long as I've had the shop, I've always prided myself in making sure that we're safe, we're clean, and I take a lot of pride in that. A lot of yourself, you got a beautiful shop, beautiful studio. We take a lot of pride in our studios,
right?
And we want it to be known that you come into our shop and get tattooed, it's as clean as it would be going to see a dentist or a doctor,
Right.
And I think with an artistic appeal to, I think it's awesome the way things are nowadays, as to oppose as, the old nightmare shops that we used to hear about, and and they didn't know.
Right. Things are different.
Nowadays, everybody's things are different. Everybody stepped it up. So even with the way it was back then, they paved the way, and those were the guys that did the research to help us have the knowledge that we've got now, to do things safer and cleaner. So yeah, we do take a lot of pride in that, and I think guys like you, me, and a few others in town would take the necessary measures to make sure that everybody's safe, it's clean, it's sterile, and if we got it, like I said, just do one-on-one appointments, then that's what we'll do.
Right.
But to keep us just completely shut down and not being productive at all isn't going to do any good for us, our economy, the family, just in general. It's not good, man.
So I actually, since I told you we'd probably be going around the 30-minute mark, but I think this is a lot of good stuff. And if you don't mind going a little longer, there's a lot of questions. People are kind of commenting and stuff. I would like to at least address a few of them, and also say thanks to everybody that's watching. I always appreciate everybody's support. I know you do too. We really care about our customers and family. A lot of times we don't even call them clients. We're calling them friends and family. So I appreciate everybody watching. But, before we go, I would like to ask you another question, but then after that, address some of the stuff that people are commenting on, and maybe, we could both go from there. But the thing that I would like to bring up is something that's actually, but between the two of us, I think we kind of don't see necessarily eye to eye, or it's something I guess you could say that our approach for the same outcome is different, which is you are starting a petition, or I think you completed the petition, correct?
It's still open for people to
Okay.
sign. It's on my Facebook page.
So
It's basically. Go ahead. You could
So
go
yeah,
first. I'm sorry.
so
Go
that
ahead.
was that's what I wanted to bring up is I think and I respectfully declined to sign the petition that you were bringing up was and again we haven't talked about this yet. This is the first time bringing it up between the two of us since seeing it online. But my perspective was you were bringing a petition in order to freeze rents and bills, which I totally understand. I mean that's one way to get it done. The reason why I didn't necessarily jump on that ship or see that the way out is simply just because I just honestly don't think it's going to happen. And it's not the disbelief that stops me. It's I think the agenda right now is to do what they can to get people, not just compliant really. It's actually to get them reliant right now on a system of government that's feeding you and keeping you happy and keeping you at bay. And so I don't see them moving over towards relieving people, like I've already seen a few comments of people saying, why aren't they bailing out people like you guys who need it instead of big businesses that are profiting off of it and they're still bailing them out. So that's where we differed is that you wanted the petition to sign off for the rents and freeze bills. And I saw it as, I think the only answer really for me is going back to work. So if you don't mind, just kind of fill me in with that, and tell me where you're at on that end of it.
Okay, so my end of it is this: I would love nothing more than to go back to work as well. I'm a workaholic; it's what I do, and I didn't see that being something that was going to happen anytime soon. And just from client friends of mine that are in certain places where they kind of gave me some information and insight from what they're gathering. They were telling me already this thing could drag on until freaking August, September, maybe even the rest of the year. They were saying this from the beginning. And actually, before it happened, a buddy of mine called me and he said, "Hey, man, something big's coming. You better be ready because you're going to get shut down." And I'm like, "What the hell did I do?
Right.
What do you mean I'm going to get shut down?" And he's like, "No, no, no. This is going to be the whole country. It's coming." He goes, "Just so you know, because you guys deal direct contact with people, you guys are going to be probably the first ones to be shut down because they're going to try to limit the contact from one person to another." I was like, "Oh crap, okay." And that's when he kind of went into it a little bit more detail that I can't get into.
Right.
But I was forewarned, and so I called my landlord and I forewarned my landlord that it was going to happen. And he basically said, "Well, I know you work hard, but you're probably going to have to work a little bit harder if this is true and if it's coming, you know." And it happened 2 days later, 3 days later.
Right.
And so there was really no real time to prepare. And so, given the information that I had, and then having talked to my landlord on a second conversation, and just gathering from his feelings of where his head space was and going to be geared to, which is where he stands, and I respect it. That's when I made the decision. I said, well, shit, I'm still going to be responsible for a whole bunch of bills, just like many others are, and we're going to have our doors shut, but we're still going to be responsible for the bills to those buildings.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be fair. And in most cases, if this does drag on for 3 to 6 months, businesses are going to shut down. And that's when the thought was the only way we're going to be able to be saved is if there's something out there to protect us that has any type of or resolve, And in my thinking, I figured I wouldn't want to go against the landlords. I tried to look at it from both sides of the tracks. They do deserve to be taken care of as well, and that's why when I wrote up the petition, I put in the petition that they should be given a crisis tax credit or write-off.
Correct.
They should be given some type of form that they fill out that puts down the addresses to the properties that they own and lease to now deemed non-essential tenants. And for the amount of time that this shutdown is happening, they should be able to get a tax credit for that and not be able to and or have to come after us for that money,
Right.
And that's what the petition was for. I tried to look at it from both sides of the tracks when I wrote it up, but I do see where you're coming from because like me, we're workhorses, dude. We want to work. We're not the type to lay down or even get on our knees. We want to stand up and get our butts to work and provide for our families. That's what we do.
Right.
But I was realizing early on that the powers that be, man, they got us. They got us in a really hard place. It's one of the worst predicaments I could ever never have planned for, and can't imagine that I'm in. But I'm in it along with thousands of others. And that I did it to try to help, man. Is what I did. I designed that in hopes that enough people would agree and look at it from my perspective, and understand that I'm trying to help us all through that petition. And I was going to march as strong and as hard as I could to get it from one step and one level to the next. From city council to the mayor, from the mayor to the governor. I'm getting ready to type up a letter to the president, dude. I mean, I'd rather do that and give it a shot than to not do it and wonder what could have came out of it. Could it have helped?
Right.
I'm the type of, I'm going to do it first, and hopefully it doesn't fall on deaf ears.
Right.
And if it makes a difference and reaches the right people, that's my goal. And that way I could help as many others as I can. And guys like yourself, even though you didn't sign the petition, I think a part of you started to realize now as this is starting to transition and extend out longer, and you're helping me right now. You didn't sign the petition, but this is just as big, if not bigger. You're helping me reach an audience,
right.
Give me a platform here to speak, and I hope it does reach further and beyond. I hope that my view on this is shared with many others and many other tattooers. And like I said, it's no disrespect to other tattooers. We're very prideful men and women, and there's a lot more people that kind of retract back, like yourself. You said you're like the artist hermit at times. I've never been that type. I've always been the type that's just, I'll get out there. I have no problem doing it. It is difficult, I will say that, but I always try to think about the greater good at the end, and I'm willing to put myself, my reputation and everything that I feel is right at risk, to try to help.
Yeah, so that's it seems like, and I'm reading a comment right now from Joshua Hughes. He just said that he's glad to see us live, and that he's going to share this on a couple pages. So reaching out like this, it's again, not signing the petition isn't because I didn't want it to happen or I didn't believe in what you're doing or anything like that. It was more of just a difference in opinions on how to accomplish this, which I respect that us as men, we can settle those differences. It's not a big deal. It doesn't come between us and not seeing eye to eye, but it does seem like a lot of people can't handle that, or at least they're not in a position to see it from somebody else's point of view. It seems like there's a lot more just In person, I'm not seeing a lot of conflict between people's beliefs. It's just the, keyboard warriors and, people behind the steering wheels to the, screens and whatnot. It doesn't seem to be in person as much, but I'm curious with what you just said. Are you getting a lot of positivity or a lot of positive feedback or support even from a lot of the stuff you've been doing?
I actually, I have close to 1,500 signatures on the petition. I was hoping for, a bit more, given the size of the tattoo community, the clients as well, our friends. Um, but I get it, there's so much confusion coming from all directions, from media, um, doctors, law enforcement, and everything in between. There's so much confusion going on in regards to this situation that we're
Yeah.
all in that people are going to be a little bit hesitant. They're going to reserve, their opinions and whatnot, and I respect that.
It
That
seems like
I'm not the type.
that's kind of a tactic that sorry to cut you off, but that's kind of a tactic that that people have used. I mean, that's nothing new. It's not a new card out of the sleeve or something, or a new trick. It's something people have used for a long time to push, whether it's agendas or something, again going off politically. But that's it's no surprise that confusion is the thing that I see happening the most. People don't really know what the truth is, what the real numbers are, what the real effect is, what a lot of people are in disbelief, and a lot of people are just fully accepting of whatever narrative they want. Whereas it sounds like, in our positions, and you're saying, you're the kind of person, the kind of man or business owner that just likes to, get your hands dirty and get it done. So again, being, fully respectful of that, it just seems like for us, it's a really difficult, and this is something, whether I'm a hermit or not, is I struggle with, which is having the ability taken away from me, or at least limited massively, to provide and to accomplish whatever it is you've been working hard at. And I think if there's anywhere, that's probably where me and you are in the complete same boat. That why we get along so well is exactly that. That to take that away from somebody is demoralizing, and not everybody has necessarily the situation or the attitude to withstand that, to kind of pull themselves out of it. So have you, again, from your point of view, have you felt a lot of that lately? And if so, what is it like, in what areas, how are you feeling that sort of struggle of not being able to go out there and accomplish the things you've been wanting to do?
Well, it sucks, as it does for all tattooers right now who are passionate, about what we do, and other people in their respectful professions, to do something that you love and to enjoy waking up every day and going to work and having, I call it a luxury job because I just love what I do. It never feels like work, and to have that script, right now, and just kind of like smack down to being confined at home. That's a hard pill to swallow, man. We could do other things like paint and whatnot, to try to at least stay productive as artists. But I enjoy my people, man. I enjoy my
Right.
friends, and I love those times of just that's my social outlet. I don't go partying and drinking and all that good stuff too like I used to do when I was younger. So my social outlet is just having fun and enjoying good conversations and good times with my clientele,
Yeah.
who end up, like you said, they become family to us, man. I miss them, and that's hard. It's a hard. My wife goes through it as well as so working in the salon. Any given time that I walk in there, her and her friends are laughing, they're having a good time, and it's just a great place for people. Our types of businesses are an awesome outlet for people to let loose, get a little bit of therapy, whether it's getting their haircuts and whatnot, or getting tattooed, and just having a great time, one on one with the artist, and we're having a few friends join them. I miss that, and to have it just bluntly taken away from us, it sucks, man. It's hard to deal with. I'm coping with it. Um, like I said, I would like to be a little bit more proactive artistically and productive artistically here at home, but I've taken, um, a responsibility within to step up and just try to fight, man, what I think is right. And I'll explain a little bit more on why I feel this way is because if you think about it, Josh, if if our bills are just going to stack against us, and we all, many of us, at least not all of us, but many of us, accrue crazy amounts of debt or lose our businesses, when things do open up, we're not going to have money to go and splurge into the economy.
Right.
We're not going to have that luxury, that extra spending money to maybe buy a pair of new shoes or that freaking hat or whatever we wanted, like we're going to be ass puckered tight trying to get ourselves out of debt that we shouldn't have been brought into in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's going to kill our economy even more.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't a lot of
And
times
so,
understand how that works economically because, and no disrespect to employees, but people that get a paycheck and have a set schedule and a boss to tell them what to do, that's a totally different environment than the position you're in completely. Being able to sympathize with that, obviously on my end, you're exactly right. I mean, people, I've seen signs. I think the best one right now that I see the most sort of negativity towards is people holding up signs saying I need a haircut, right? Like no doubt that can, get people to feel a certain way, especially to diminish the importance of it. But I don't think that that's mostly why people are holding up those signs. I think what they're saying is my stylist matters to me. My tattoo artist matters to me. Like you said, your clientele and our customers, friends, and family, they matter a lot to us, and we know that we matter to them. And thank goodness they make us feel that way because it's like one of the coolest communities ever. But holding up a sign that says I need my haircut, I think is just read completely wrong. I don't think anybody's really wanting to put anybody's life at risk because they want a haircut. It's just not just economical and social, but that's how the economy stays alive, and that's how their hairdresser or their tattoo artist or salon owner or barber, that's how they feed their family. And these people, and this too, there's many a times where I'm getting tips from clients that I've done a job on that they're so happy with. They over tip me not because they want me to buy nice cool shit necessarily, but they know that it's going to impact my family, and they like to be there for us. And no doubt I'm sure you've had those experiences too. And so that's kind of what I see when someone says I need a haircut. It's like I'm waiting for the sign that says I need to get my tattoo finished, or I need a tramp stamp. Doubt that's going to happen. I shouldn't say that, but something along those lines, that I need to get this this thing. I'm going to guess somebody got a tattoo, it was spelt wrong, and like a week later they couldn't get it fixed and had been walking around wanting it done. And even though that sounds like a joke, what I mean is, people don't realize that supports our families too.
yeah, man, our clients are amazing, dude. And, ones that we've got long relationships with, and they know our families, and you know, they know us personally. They invest in us, man. They invest in those relationships by taking care of us,
Right.
And times like this, I had had a few just offer to prepay for appointments, and I appreciate it so much, and I feel like it's I haven't accepted those things, and I'll tell you why. You probably think that that's crazy, accept the prepayments, but for me, I'll have to I'll owe those appointments, and with my schedule the way it is, I'm already so far behind. I'll feel more obligated to want to get them in sooner for helping me out, which is what I would, what I felt would be the right thing to do. And I think it would be hard given the amount of work that's gonna, be needed to get caught up on.
Yeah. And
And so
a lot of people don't
it'll
realize
just kind of,
too that we have, we take, whether it's deposits for appointments or prepay ahead of time, or, gift certificates, cards, or support through merchandise or something. A lot of people aren't understanding that, if we do that ahead of time, we don't even have a date to open. So, we're going to be using this money now in hopes that, we get to the people in a timely manner. And that's kind of uncomfortable, I think, even for me to ask for that and not even have at least a prospective date of exactly when we can go back to that. And so I think that's just an honorable thing. I think that's an honest thing. That's probably one of the hardest parts, is that our service business is what we are. We have, we provide a service to people, and there's not a whole lot of ways that you can, not that there's no ways, there's no other opportunities, and that we're completely shit canned from, doing something about it. But that's one of the hardest parts, is making appointments. People ask, are you scheduling yet? Are you scheduling yet? Until I have a actual date in mind, I don't feel comfortable scheduling people and then having to reschedule everybody, and creating more work for everybody in the end. and possibly even making some people unhappy. But I did say I wanted to get to some of the comments here. Before I do that again, Rico, how can people support some of the stuff you're doing if they're listening to this? They like what they hear, and you're talking about signing the petition to freeze rents and bills. And I totally respect in the name of not going to further debt, because crawling out of those holes is way harder than just avoiding them. So share with people where they can do that before we take some of these comments.
So if you go on my Facebook page, you just slide down, you'll see a couple of people have also shared it. You could click on the ones they shared or the one that I originally posted, and you just click on the link and it'll tell you sign the petition. I believe on the link they do ask for a donation. You have no obligation to donate. That doesn't come to me at all. And you just please sign the petition if you feel that what I'm saying is something you agree with. And I'll explain it briefly real quick one more time. I just feel that I'm asking for bills and rents to be frozen because we don't have work. We don't have an income. And if those things continue to pile up against us, which is unfair, we're just going to fall into a hole in debt that we're not going to be able to crawl out of for a long time, and that's going to harm the economy even more.
Right.
And that's what I'm basically trying to make a point on. We're going to have a protest at City Hall in a couple of days, Wednesday at 11 a.m. So, I'd love to see more tattooers. I know Jeremy Looney was out there with us the last time. He was standing there with me. Good dude, great tattooer. And, and his heart's out there too, man. He's worried about all us tattooers and everybody else that are non-essentials. It's a tough time. And the more of us that get out there and stand side by side and try to help this point be made, I hope it's going to reach the right people. And, I'm going to hopefully be opened up for interviews. I'm wanting to hit the news. I'm wanting to hit some other outlets and platforms. Because like I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it to the top. And I'm willing to sacrifice what I need to right now, which is time that I could be painting and doing other things. I'm putting everything I got right now into this.
Well, then it sounds to me like something with this conversation. This is the most extensive meeting you've been able to talk about this at all, really. Last time we spoke was well before this situation had come upon us. But it sounds to me like it'd be pretty cool to do a follow-up at some time soon. I'm sure people listening would be excited to see some of the impact that this might have, or just in general some of the stuff you're doing to push this forward in the right way, and to hear some of the success, which is kind of a nice relief just to know that things are getting rolling, the ball's moving forward, but also that we're, even if nothing happened out of whatever it is we're trying to go for, like you said, we would hate to be the men in the future looking back wondering if we should have done something. So the fact that you're doing something at all is respectable. I appreciate you just as a friend, as a fellow artist and business person, but it's commendable what you're doing. It's nice to hear somebody speak, not just with conviction, but strength in their voice. I don't hear you complaining at all, which is great, even though there's plenty of things we could be complaining about. So I encourage everybody to go and check out at least your petition and see what it's about, if they're for it, and how they can find you on your website, on your social media, and connect with you there. Of course, we're going to share this, and your name's in it, so they'll be able to find you through here. But also, I want to bring on some of these questions real quick, and I'm going to read them out to you, and I want to hear your response to them. Some of them are pretty, I guess I don't want to say directed to one, either me or you, but it's probably stuff that you hear a lot, I hope, as artists. This is probably ringing really true. So I'm going to bring this on here. This is from Wendy Lewis. Rico, I don't know if you can actually read that on your screen, but it says, who is to say a salon or a tattoo appointment isn't essential to someone? That's therapy for some.
Yeah, I can read it. That's a great one, Wendy. And, many people share the same sentiment. Like, I got people saying, they need their tattoo. They need their therapy. They tell my wife's getting calls and texts all the time. They need their color done. They need this done. They just love that time that they get to take to come to the shops, and have that moment and that peace for themselves. And it's very therapeutic for a lot of people, and I'm sure you get this all the time too, Josh. People, we've pretty much become like life counselors,
100%.
We're giving advice. We're we all come from different walks of life and have, certain experiences. So we share that with these people that become our good friends and practically family. And so, yeah, it is therapy and
For
a time
sure.
for us and for them.
Yeah, I
So,
think
yeah, I mean, just based on that, we are essential. We're helping people's peace of mind,
well, yeah. So
mind and body. So,
just in case anybody's wondering if essential workers is the right or wrong word for the situation we're in, it's 100% the wrong word. Everybody working, whether you're, a service business or a product business or an employee, or whatever, or an entrepreneur, we're all essential, and our businesses are all essential. Some might fall into the guidelines of, maybe being more of a luxury, which is fine. But of course, we're all essential. I have to just say that, of course. But the therapy part of it, for both our ends is, of course, no doubt important to a lot of people as well as us. So I'm going to bring on another question. And there's a lot of people on here, so thank you guys all for commenting and being up here. This is from Lacey Marie. Oh yeah, Lacey, what's up? I'm going to read that. Rico, do you have any sweatshirts / hats / shirts you are selling so we can buy them and support you? ?
so what I'm looking into right now is if the print shop is going to be considered into the phase 2 rollout that's supposed to be happening soon. And if it is, which I think it will be, then we're going to be able to print merch. And Josh, I'd be happy to help you out on that if you don't already have someone. But I have a very small inventory of stuff that we've got at the shop. So if anybody's interested, I think I have a few hats and some shirts left. But as far as printing anything new at the moment, it's probably going to be a couple weeks out still before we could do something like that. I did kind of possibly tap into a little bit of a loophole where one of an older set of equipment that we had before is at my buddy's home, and it's a full print setup. And so we're looking into, like I said, it possibly being a loophole that he could just work by himself with nobody else there, remotely from his home, and print stuff that we've already got set up, which is some of our old merch, and just do reprints and whatnot and sell that stuff.
So
So
do you have
I'll do an update.
on your Facebook, or I'm sorry, no, like a website or something where people, even if it's a pre-order, is there somewhere, because I'm actually going to get another question similar here in a minute, coming up next, that some people can support you in any way, whether it's shirts or anything you have that they can come and show some love on their end.
Yeah, so we're actually my business partner for the print shop, which he's a great guy. My business partner Patrick Dave. He's actually designing a website right now for us. It should be up and running in a couple of days, and it's going to have a link to where um, you could go on there and just upload your graphic or anything that you want done. And like I said, if the loophole is what we think it is, then he could print remotely from home, and then we're just going to use stamps.com, which we have an account with, and we could ship them to you.
Cool.
And so, and I think for anybody that's going to be willing to help out and purchase merch during this time, we're going to do our best to see if we could absorb the cost of the shipping fees and whatnot.
Cool. Right on. So I'm going to bring on this next one too. It's a little bit long of a question, which is fine, but I don't know if it's going to fit on the screen here. We'll try it out anyway and see. So this is Mike. Mike is saying, where can some people go to donate? Kind of a similar question. That are willing to prepay for maybe even appointments, like we talked about a little bit earlier. Mike, if you listen to that, we did kind of cover that a little bit, but people that are willing to prepay ahead of time and wait as long as it takes to get the set appointment. He'll be down to prepay and understand that you have to catch up first. So that's from Mike.
People that are that freaking amazing that are willing to help us out, I mean, that's just beyond a blessing, man, to have good people out there like that. And like yourself, I've got PayPal and Venmo. And for anybody that is truly willing to wait, because it will be a wait, this is just, there's no certainty for us yet as to when we're even going to be able to be back in our studios. So for those of you that are willing to do that and are going to have that patience and understanding and are willing to help, PayPal and Venmo, and you could just specify that you're prepaying for 1 or 2 hours or whatever it is that you're able to do, and it's all appreciated. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This is a tough time, so I can't even express the gratitude for somebody that's willing to do that and to be patient with me and other tattooers, to help us get through this time, and for salons and whatnot.
Yeah. So thank you, Mike Lorda, for that question. Of course, you can find, if you're not already following Rico online, you can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook. Visit him on his website. We'll try to tag all that stuff too. Get all the information in the description after the video's over. I'll bring in a few more questions here too. Maybe a few that aren't necessarily questions. I'm going to bring a few, just again to show some love to everybody watching. Just a kind of a quick little comment on them. So, Lori said, "Very professional guys." Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Lori.
And then we have Jesse, who said FKN. You know what that stands for? Agreed.
Oh yeah.
So let's see what else we got here before we wrap this up. Again, everybody, thank you guys for watching. This is going to be saved. Since I really appreciate Rico and his time. It's going to be saved, obviously, here on Facebook as a live. You could rewatch, but I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel as well, so you guys can go back and watch it if you didn't get to see the whole thing, or if you're catching the end of this and you want to see the beginning, and then some of the comments and stuff too that were brought on. So people saying hi. So again, Charity, thanks for coming on here saying hi. Nikki, everybody's on here saying hello. We really appreciate that. Let's see if we can find.
Hi, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for sure. So next, actually, I got a guy, Joshua. I've talked to him a few times about this already. He said, "Glad to see you live. Let's hook up this week." He's going to share it on a couple of pages, so we appreciate that greatly.
Thank you, Joshua. Greatly appreciate it, bro.
Let's see here if there's anything else we can do real quick. Let's read this. Yeah, there's just a lot of people, and I've gotten this too before in the last few weeks. People calling me going out of their way to say, "Hey, man, everything's good on their end, but if there's anything they could do to help me out," I should say this, so it's not just all doom and gloom necessarily, but a lot of people reach out to try to show some love and some support with nothing, sometimes with literally nothing in expectation. So that's just something I can't say thanks enough for. That's just super cool.
I'll tell you what, man, hearing the outpour of people that are trying to help you, other artists, salons and whatnot, all that makes me want to do is try to get more tattooers together and figure out collectively what we can do to give back even more so to our community, and come together for something big, man. It makes me want to just help out and give that much more and include as many people as we can, right. So we can touch more, just to help out. That's my goal, in the end, Josh. I just want to be in a position. I said it earlier on. I love helping people, man. It's something it's embedded in me. It's just who I am, and I love being, having good people like yourself and a few others that are, you guys, is just good people, man. Good people that are willing to help and just get out there and do something different. It brings our community together, and that's what we need. We need everybody to start coming together and helping out and whatnot, and just come to some mutual grounds and understandings that we're all humans, and at the end of the day, we're all just trying to eat, live, and love. That's it.
Cool. So we got this last one. This is from Rochelle. She said, "Good job, Rico."
Thank you, Rochelle. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So this was good,
Big ups to my boy Josh here. This guy's the guru behind this whole interview. I'm not the savvy one with all the cool stuff here. This is amazing. I'm honored to be here and just very gracious and thankful for my buddy here who did this. So thank you, Josh.
I'm going to have to say too, Rico, before we go real quick, that, well, first off, Wendy just jumped in again. She said, "We're all essential 100% in every way." Showing love and support doesn't always have to be a handshake and a hug. It can come literally sometimes just from keeping people in your thoughts and making sure that you're checking up on them, making sure that you're, just making yourself available in any way, but not just saying it, but actually finding ways to go out of your way to do it, which Rico, one of the things that's drawn us together as friends is the fact that you are that kind of guy. So I appreciate that. I have to mention that, you are a giving person, even though you mentioned it earlier. I can vouch for that 100%. A lot of people can. Anybody watching this, even after this is posted later, that when it's not live, I'm sure you're going to get nothing but comments. So I appreciate your time greatly, brother. I really, truly do. I have a feeling, well, it's not even a feeling. This is a fact that this time is it's an unprecedented time. This is something that we've never gone through, something the world's never seen before, at least during our time, to this magnitude in this lockdown sense. I'm not going to get into the actual facts of the disease and what it's doing, but this effect economically and socially, the social distancing, the the lockdown of the businesses and whatnot. This is something monumental and historical, and I appreciate being here with you and having friends and people like you in the industry that are just solid SOBs, man. Like, I really, really appreciate you. So I just want to share that love with you before we go, and we'll check in again sometime and maybe in the next couple of weeks or something and talk about where you're at there.
Thank you, Josh. One last thing I'd like to say, if everything goes well, we are starting that website through Bigfoot Print. There will be a movement. You can upload your logos and whatnot and join the movement. I'll be posting it shortly on Instagram and Facebook if you're following me. And Josh, I'll tag my buddy Josh here in it. And, let's just do what we can for the greater good. Try to be kind to everybody. And if we're going to spread anything, let's just spread some caringness, love, and positivity. That's what we need during this time, and a lot of prayer. We all come from different beliefs and whatnot, but at the end of the day, whatever it is that you believe in, I respect it. And I just hope you share it with others, in a positive manner.
Right on, man. Thank you so much, Rico. Thanks for everybody watching. Thanks for everybody commenting. Everybody check him out. Don't be afraid to reach out and even just show some love with a follow on Instagram, to visiting his websites and, linking everything on here on Facebook best we can, as well as if you're watching this on YouTube later on when we repost it. Thank you everybody for, all your support and everything you do. And I do plan on doing this a few more times in the future. Who knows, it might be even a permanent thing. I knew this was important to get this kind of information out now. And Rico, again, before we jump off real quick, just thank you so much for everything you do. And I appreciate you, brother.
You too, Josh. I'd like to just send a quick little shout out to my wife, our crew from Saldivar, Bigfoot Print, my boys over at Red Wave, all the tattooers throughout Fresno. We got a lot of talent. We got some amazing tattooers and artists, great people all throughout the barbering, hair and tattoo community. Let's come together. Let's do something big. Let's make a difference. This is a historical time in our lives that we're going through, and let's do what we can to come out of this stronger than ever. We have what it takes. And a big shout out to Shayna Rose, who's putting herself and Crystal Childers. They're really at the forefront of this alongside with me, and I'd love to have as many more of you guys join us this Wednesday, City Hall at 11 a.m. Thank you, and God bless.
Right on. Thanks, Rico.
Thank you, Josh.
I want to thank Rico from Red Wave Tattoo for coming on and sharing some of his time with us here on the show. And we look forward to sharing more videos like this in the future with you guys.